Good afternoon. My name is Tumi Tladi. Let's get down to business, shall we? Today is Tuesday, the 27th of July 2021. Time is 25 minutes before 5 p.m. So, we're gonna continue with our series on version control. And then the last video that we did, we covered master branch. So it's only fair that this guy should be marked as done, right? Cool. And then I have the browser ready. We need to do some stuff, but I don't think today I'm gonna focus on the browser, and I'll explain why, or maybe I should, but wait, I haven't decided yet. So if this is the first video of mine that you're watching right now, please, I'm gonna urge you to watch my previous videos to understand how I got to this point where now I'm doing this extensive series on version control. And then I'm still gonna continue with the web application. There's some stuff to cover there, and I'm also gonna continue to do a mini series on web API, and then finally I'm gonna do extensive series on Xamarin, how I built my mobile application. Currently, let's have fun with the version control, shall we? Okay, so if you find this material to be helpful, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment if you have any. Please share with the fellow developers or anybody, and please subscribe. So I want to do branches today, or I'm scheduled to do branches because we did say we're gonna do branches today. However, I want to skip this part, and now I want to explain why. Maybe I should fire GitHub. Well, I like to fire both of them because I'm making use of both of them, GitHub and Azure DevOps. These are two platforms or services that I'm currently utilizing for identical docs. So here's a problem. Let me use example of this new repository created yesterday or in our previous video. So I want to cover, we did cover master branch, the sole purpose of this branch, right? It's the same thing that we see in Visual Studio, where by default right now I'm on master branch, right? Or currently I'm on master branch, but I want to cover branches, like what other branches we might have, when it comes to version control. So I do have a number of branches. If I click on this branch, I want to cover this, but the problem is this: I keep on coming back to Visual Studio. So I decided, you know what, instead of covering this topic of branches, let's move it down. We're gonna do Get in Visual Studio instead. Make sense? So we're gonna do Get in Visual Studio. We're not gonna do branches anymore. So this is gonna be video number 11. This is gonna be video number 10, and then that's what we're gonna be doing today. I'm gonna cover Get in Visual Studio. Wait, what am I doing? Okay, and then what I want to do, I also want to do this. Destroy number 12. We don't need it. So this is gonna be number 12. But we're gonna do this and. So today we are doing Get in Visual Studio, and we're going to do Get Changes tab. We're going to talk about this tab. All right, so let's talk about the Get in Visual Studio. Do we need to do Google research? No, we don't need to do so. So Microsoft, with the Visual Studio, they revamped Visual Studio because currently I'm using, well, it's not the latest version anymore, but I did upgrade it to the most recent one. And then that's when I saw that they have re-architectured there's a Get system within Visual Studio as an IDE, and we're going to talk about this. So previously it used to be called the Team Explorer. So you see, I come from back in the days, I'm the old G, or what do you call these people? The old dude, or the old folk, the old person, whatever it is. What on earth is this? No, I need to install this thing. Okay, so right. So this is my current version, 16.10.1. So they architectured the Git system where now it has its own menu item. So this is Git in Visual Studio. If I click this guy, there's a whole lot here, and I want to talk about this. There's a whole lot. Number one, we should go back to clone repository. So when we click the start window, this is where now Git in Visual Studio start here with the ability for you to clone a repository. So we've done this when we covered the video Git clone. Yes, we did that. Please check the previous video. So this is where now Git in Visual Studio starts. Okay, this guy. Okay. So you can clone. We did clone. I know previous in the previous videos. So that's the first part of it. So we're not gonna cover this. It's gonna open the same window. Well, this window where you can clone either from GitHub or Azure DevOps. Funny enough, I never browsed this. Let's see if we can browse, shall we? Because I never thought these things are clickable. I've always typed in, as you saw in my previous videos, I've always typed in the URL and then changed the path. But let's see if this guy is smart enough to know that I'm already authenticated in GitHub. Let's see. By the way, I'm still learning also, so I'm still learning. But I have a quick question. Why is it unloading my project? Like I said, I've never done this before because I need this project or this solution loaded, but it's fine. Let's give it a second to see what it does because I'm curious. What happened to Visual Studio now? VS. Okay. It's a fun thing to learn these things yourself, because you can't always keep on Googling. Oh, by the way, I'm not a fan of command prompt or command line, CMD or terminal. I'm not a fan of that. I hate having to remember the commands. I hate that. This is interesting. This is quite interesting. So I can add or I can change accounts. Open from GitHub. Okay, can you stop doing that? Can you? So they know that I have already. This is interesting. So if you're already authenticated and then you have added your account, I don't know why it's doing this. Alright, stop. This is interesting. Okay, let's cancel this one. Let's see Azure DevOps. Let's see if this thing is smart enough because this is part of Git in Visual Studio. Let's see. Connect to a project. Yes, this is my account. Let's give it a second. Let's give it a second. Come on. There we go. We have something. What else? Oh, by the way, it's still loading. Microsoft needs to work on this loading indicator. It needs to be clearly visible for us to know. Oh, there we go. Oh, so I can open instantly. I can see multiple organizations. Interesting. Now we know. So in a nutshell, this was a cloning repository. Okay, what else do we have? Then we have a local repository. So these are my local repositories. How does it know this? Let me open the folder. I don't know that option, what it does, but let's see. Okay, but it's a shortcut. So basically, when it comes to repos, these are my repositories. So these are the local repositories you see here. Okay. So just know that there are local repositories and there are remote repositories. So this is part of locals versus remotes. We'll cover this later on. Okay, what else? Commit or stash. So you can commit or stash. You can trigger fresh. You can trigger pull. You can trigger push. And then people are confused even now about the difference between fresh and pull. I'll explain that as soon as we get to fresh and pull. So we're gonna do fresh and pull. So I think the first one that comes in is this guy. And then let me do this. Come here, and then we first start with fresh, and then we pull, and then we push. Okay, cool. What else? Sync. They're doing two things in one, or killing two birds in one. So you can pull, then push. which is interesting. When we talk about the use case for this, here you can create a new branch. Wait, can I have my solution loaded again? What's wrong with you? Open. Okay, let's do this. Let's click here. Load in the meantime. Please don't take too long. Oh no, it's gonna take too long because we have 11 projects, and we're gonna talk about this dialog right now, where it shows you the number of the projects you have in a solution, and we'll talk about why the more you have, more projects added to your solution is going to become problematic for version control. We'll talk about that because this Git in Visual Studio or version control generally has its own issues. Regardless if you're using the terminal or not, it has some issues. And then also when it comes to performance, I don't know if Microsoft is aware of this, or maybe it's my machine right now, but it tends to take too long to load the projects. Sometimes it's happy, sometimes it's slowish. I don't know why. So just know that these are the pros and cons of having multiple projects and then having them to be tracked by version control system. Okay. Or you already tracking one project and you are adding more projects into the solution, so there are some issues, so you need to be aware of that. Okay, so we're not done, and this is part of it, by the way. They're making the computer slowish or making the IDE slowish or unresponsive. That's part of Git. We're not done. Let's continue here. And then you can create a new branch. Like I said, we'll cover this as soon as we come to this video, because there's a video I want us to do, this one. Project to branch, or project equivalent to a branch, or project to a branch, whatever it is. But I'm going to use our newly created repositories for this one. So stay tuned for that one. And then a huge thing is this one, view branch history. Do we have it scheduled? Of course we have it scheduled. Git history. We're going to talk about this in the context of this system of mine, Identical Docs. We're going to look at the history and why the use case, and then why it's imperative for you to keep on checking the history, Okay, what else? And then manage branches. We'll also look at this, manage branches. And then you can open in File Explorer. Let's see what it does. What are you going to open in File Explorer? Are you going to open this solution in File Explorer? I can't wait to see. And then you can open the command prompt. I want to try this one. I keep on clicking stuff. Yeah, I don't see any activity. Oh, okay. Oh, so so this is the shortcut. Let's close. Let's do it again. Now we are learning some stuff. This is a shortcut. Because then I would right click any of the projects and now, okay, this one, okay, interesting. But on the selected or the solution that's loaded, it will open the corresponding folder. Yeah, but you get the point. The command prompt. This is the partial. Oh, so I can do some command stuff already in this repository. Interesting. If I need to, but I hate this. Just know that I hate it. And then we have manage remote, and we're gonna do this one as soon as we get to having to push, because when I push, I want to do this one first, locals versus remote, so it should come first before. Yes, and I'll explain why I want it there, because there's a use case for it. Okay, cool. So here we said we are managing it because I want to talk about this when we get there, but I'll explain this later on. Okay, let's cancel. And then lastly, we have settings. I think the same window that I just closed. Yes, so let's talk about this. So basically, I can still get to these options by going to Tools, Options, and then this is the entire thing, all the options for Visual Studio. So we also have a source control. So it specifies the source control plugin to use with the Microsoft Visual Studio and allows the changes to plug in specific options. So current source control plugin, it's Git. because you have to install it. But we can also have Visual Studio Team Foundation Server. I've never used it. By default, it's Git. Okay. And then plugin selection, I think this is the okay. And then Git global settings. Aha. So the reason why I hate the only time I did some Git commands using the terminal or the CMD was when I set the username and the email, because by default when you start installing Git and then you start doing this, it wants you to do this. So my username is Edward McFlurry. I think you can tell based on, there we go. So this is my username, Edward McFlurry. So everywhere where I commit, it's Edward McFlurry. And then the email, this is my official email for this account, but I have the main one. And then this is the default location, 182.2 repos. And then I've never tampered with this, guys. Prune remote branches during fetch. I don't know what it does. Rebase, the term rebase, you're gonna see it more often. I've never done anything. I don't even know what the meaning of rebase is. Rebase local branch when pulling, cryptographic network provider, credentials helper, close, open solution, not under Git when open repository, yes. I never said this thing, but maybe it's the default. Enable download of author image from third party, no. Commit changes after match by default, yes. Enable push force with list, I don't know what it does, this option. Open folding solution explorer when opening a Git repository, yes. Automatically load the solution when opening Git. Load the solution when opening Git repository, maybe I should do it. Automatically check out branches with a double click or enter, no. It's problematic, this one. So this is Git global settings. Now, Git repository settings. Okay, so this is the repository identical docs. It's a local one, by the way. Repository setting will override the global setting values. So the username, the email, we've seen these. Div tool. It's interesting. Why div tool is set to none and not Visual Studio? Mesh tool, none, not Visual Studio. Interesting. Git files. These are now from the previous repository, the newly created repository from the previous video, we saw that these two files were pushed. We don't know where they come from. So maybe Visual Studio might shed some light. I know this is an ignore file, attributes file by default. I don't want to edit them. I don't want to do anything. But this one, let's look at this one. I'm not going to make some changes or commit the changes, but when I was learning Git, before I actually created my first commit or even account on GitHub, I've learned about this ignore file. And then, okay, we'll come to it. And then remote, like I said, we'll come back to how do you set the remote. Like every time you saw me, you see me push, you see my English now wants to run out of airtime. It's crazy, it's not going anywhere. Every time you see me, but we'll come to it. So these are the remotes. Okay, cool. I think we are done with the Git in Visual Studio. So now we're gonna come to Git changes tab. But firstly, I want to talk about this file. There's a specific okay, here that you said that some of the things, this one, publish.xml, it's not checked. So I think this is a file that will be ignored, publish web, because it's a sensitive. You see, they say comment the next line if you want to check in your web deploy settings. But database connection string with potential passwords will be unencrypted. So this is warning. So this pub XML, I think it gets to be ignored because I can show the use case for this one. If we go to properties and then you see publish profile folder, this guy is not checked. It doesn't, well, it's checked, but it doesn't get to be pushed online. So I think it gets to be, by default, it gets to be ignored. It gets to be checked, but it doesn't go all the way up. because I can even search this file, custom profile. I don't think I'll ever find it in my repository. So this file is very important. It's also important to understand what it does. Very, very important. Okay, cool. So now let's go to this Git Changes tab, where I'm always at and where you're gonna see me often, because, well, I think my first few videos on this YouTube channel have already been on this tab. So there's a Git Changes tab. They rearranged everything. I love what they did. So I know this is fresh, this pull, this push, this sync. I know that. And then we have additional options. So you see now this is where those remotes come in, and I have renamed them. So I can fetch from either. I will talk about the use case for that as soon as we do localhost versus remote. Push, or the pull from either, but I usually do push for to both of them. Okay, sync. I don't play around with sync much often, but we'll talk about it. Push all text. I've never done this because we need to talk about what it does, but you can do your own research. Manage remotes. It's gonna pull up this guy. It's a shortcut, and then manage branches. Let's see what it does. We'll also want to talk about this. I'll come to it in a second. And then open File Explorer. We saw this. Show toolbar actions. Okay. Oh, those are toolbars. Interesting. So let's see. It disappeared. Come back. I like it when it's cool. Come back. So now you know what's happening here. Now let's talk about this guy. So currently on master branch, there is a 0 outgoing commits, the one that's supposed to go up to the cloud. And there's also 0 incoming commits coming down on my local machine. But this number always changes. I'm sure you've seen that it changes quite often, and we'll explore this. This is where you write your commit message, and we'll talk about commit message. It's becoming messy now. Commit message. Yes, here it is. Commit messages. We'll talk about this. There are some rules apparently to commit messages, and it's required. I've never done this. I meant modify the latest commit of the account, but I've always played with this. And then this way you see your changes. If there's any stashes, this is where I've done this. We'll try to create a use case for this or something for that. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell, and we are done. Then let's talk about branches. Now, this guy, it's a local repository. Please do not confuse it. You just need to know by looking at the path. It's a local repository. Okay. So I have these branches. That's why I had decided not to do this video for branches. I'll do it afterwards. We'll talk about this. The branches. I want to explain them, and then we are about to do them live. How did I end up having these branches when now we switch from this solution or this project to those newly created projects that we created previously? We'll talk about how do I end up having these branches, because this is when the topic of merges, conflicts, rises, a lot of stuff comes in, but why it's recommended. So these the branches. Also, we can also see the remote branches for both GitHub and Azure DevOps. So I have both of them here, master and solid. Here I have only one, which is master. Soon we're gonna have a solid, because I intend to do CI and CD. I didn't say you should click. I intend to do CI and CD pipelines. I have it on App Center. We covered App Center. It's an external service provider. Please check the video for it. And then I intend to do it on Azure DevOps. We'll probably learn to do it on GitHub also. Okay, so just know that you can also access these guys. Okay. So it will show what's but it's supposed to show what's up there, right? GitHub master. Okay, these are local and all that. Okay, we'll continue to explore this at a later stage, particularly this. What do you see here? What's happening? It's quite interesting. Okay, cool. Why do we have YouTube having some changes? Did I make some changes on this branch? It's crazy. I should have not do that. Okay, I think this is it. I'm excited with the next video that we're gonna be covering. And we'll show the div also, like the history and everything, the div, you know, we'll explore everything. But for now, I think now you understand what to expect when you now switch into Visual Studio. I'm not gonna do gate in Visual Studio Code. I don't like Visual Studio Code. I do have it. I use it then and then, but it's not my primary IDE. My main primary IDE is this gigantic Visual Studio. Okay, so with that being said, I think these are the changes, and now we are done with this video. Okay, next is gonna be branches, because I'll talk about branches not only locally but also remotely. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found it to be helpful, please give it a thumbs up, leave it any comments, share the video, and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I'll appreciate it. Thank you very much.